चैतन्यशाश्वतशान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनादकलातीतः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्मसम्प्राप्त कर्मबन्धविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धास्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम् सिद्धास्वान्तस्थम् ईश्वरम्। हरिः ओम। नामस्मरण। द्वेषकारणं द्वैतभावनं दुःखकारणं द्वैतभावनं द्वेषकारणं द्वैतभावनं दुःखकारणं द्वैतभावनं हिंसाकारणं द्वैतभावनं हिंसाकारणं द्वैतभावनं विध्वंसकारणं द्वैतभावनं विध्वंसकारणं द्वैतभावनं स्वार्थभरितं दोषपूरितं स्वार्थभरितं दोषपूरितं कपटभरितं कल्लोलकारणं कपटभरितं कल्लोलकारणं दोषनाशकम् एक औषधम् दोषनाशकम् एक औषधम् स्वपरभेदभावनाशकम् स्वपरभेद भावनाशकम् प्रेम भरितम् अद्वैत भावनम् प्रेम भरितम् अद्वैत भावनम् सर्वजीवस्थित आत्मदर्शनम् सर्वजीवस्थित आत्मदर्शनम् परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् प्रेम भरितम् अद्वैत भावनम् सर्वजीवस्थित आत्मदर्शनम् परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् सर्वजीवस्थित आत्मदर्शनम् परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् जय जय अद्वैतम् 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 परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् परम प्रेममय शांत अमृतम् शांत अमृतम् हरि ओम। Bhagavan or God created out of his own will, or in other words, Bhagavan out of his own will assumed all these illusory forms in order to bestow his grace upon his worshippers. Adi Shankara Uvacha, said by Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji. He wanted to bestow his grace. So, he only out of his own will assumed all the illusory forms. And when these illusory forms look up to him, then he showers the grace. Adi Shankaracharya ji making this statement is very important. There is no difference between the inner self and the Supreme Self. We have seen this in all these days of our discussion. That which is inner self is not different from higher self or the Supreme Self. If there is a difference, the difference is only existing in, the difference exists only in the names. These are the names. One is called as inner, another one is called as supreme. There is no difference. It is the same Supreme Self which appears as the inner self of every being, of everything. Because everything is superimposed upon consciousness. So consciousness is behind everything, inside everything, supporting everything, enlivening everything. So everything is dependent upon consciousness, and if consciousness is present inside everything, it all depends upon how we choose to look at these things, to perceive these things, to recognize these things, to observe these things, to know and understand these things. It depends upon the penetration of our vision into the depths of the being. If we remain at the outer layers, we perceive only the illusory forms and will be affected by the illusory changes. If we go deeper, then we come to experience, at least know and understand only that which is the essence and as well as the substratum. That which holds everything, that which is responsible for everything in this universe. Extending Advaita Bhavana from our intellectual level of understanding to all the beings in this world is very beneficial for our peaceful coexistence, love-filled, affectionate coexistence. Very beautifully, our great masters explained to us that if there is something other than I or other than us, if there is anything or something other than I, and that which is other than I, if it is beautiful, I will get a desire for it. If it is powerful, there will be fear about it. If it is opposing, there will be hatred for it. Are these not the major feelings or emotions that are playing with our life, robbing our peace from us, in fact destroying all the joy that we have in life? The stability and steadiness that we can maintain in life is being destroyed by these things. If I see something as other than I, totally different from I, separate from I, if it is beautiful, I have a desire for it. Senses which are, sense organs, which are product or products of avidya or maya, illusion, they interpret something as beautiful and I desire for it. Mind knows, mind itself again is again a product of avidya, ignorance. Ignorance is the source, it is a product of ignorance. And then it tells me, gives me or makes me know, through mind I know that something is nice, I desire for it. Once I desire for it and somebody else desire for it and both of us desire for it and there is a competition and there is an obstruction and then anger. And somebody snatches it away, hatred. If somebody is very powerful other than I, fear. Is not fear troubling us? Is not desire is making us go for so many types of actions which are not good also? Is not hatred bothering us and making us get disturbed? How to get rid of all these things? How to get out of all these things? The beautiful pointer that is given to us here is, if I come to intellectually understand, this intellectual understanding which later on leads to ultimate understanding or the highest understanding, if I understand that I exist as the inner self of all. I exist in all are connected to me, all are us, all are connected to us, and I am connected to all, or we are connected to all. When all are connected to I, when all are not only connected, all are I, do I desire myself? Do I fear myself? Do I hate myself? At least in a common, normal, worldly understanding, when two people are in love with each other, when two minds are in love, two hearts are in love, there is no strife. There is no fight there if they are in love. If that disappears, then the fight begins. But if they are in love, as long as they are in love, when they are united in love, when they are joined and conjoined in love, there is no strife. There is no fighting, there is no hatred, there is no problem. It is only love, and there is only togetherness, and there is a free flow of fine feelings. If two people are united, if this much of love can happen, if through this highest understanding, if all are united, if all become one in true understanding, and if this understanding becomes prominent in all, then there is no room for hatred, there is no room for sin, there is no room for negative action, there is no room for fear. People have questions, how to get over fear, how to get over hatred, how to get over this, how to get over that. One simple remedy for all of these things. Sarva Jiva Sthita Atma Darshanam. Parama Prema Maya Advaita Bhavanam. Advaita is not going to take us away from the world by shunning it and calling it as illusory. True understanding Advaita will make us love the world. We will be in total love, real love with the world. Otherwise it is a false love, so fall in the world. We fall into love. But this is a real love with the world, which does not see hatreds, which does not have disappointments, which does not see difference. That is a different type of love, which is not dependent upon external conditions. It knows what is inside each being and it is in love with it. So this love is not temporary, which can fade away in the passage of time. This love is totally different. Tremendous love for everything in this universe, because the inner essence or inner core is recognized. And that is the source of supreme love, seat of supreme bliss. The other day also we saw, everyone loves oneself. There is no doubt about it. Everyone has love, optimum love for oneself. And not only that, everyone wants to, even a creature wants to continue to live, wants to exist, wants to live, and loves oneself. When we understand these two things are in the same person, want to exist and I love myself. And I love myself and I want to exist, that itself tells that what I love in myself and what I want to exist is the highest. And that is the seat of supreme bliss. I love, this is common in everybody. If it is common in every being, that every being wants to exist and every being loves itself, loves oneself, that means this love of oneself is the highest. What they love in oneself actually is the highest self. That is why it is common in everything. That is why it is Ananda Swarupa. Everyone loves oneself and there is joy in loving oneself. And everyone wants to exist. That existing, loving oneself, and there is joy in it. What is that actually? That is the Swarupa, bliss, Ananda Swarupa. Not only we are loving. So that will be recognized by the Advaita Bhavana. We recognize that true love for the beings, for the creation in the world, of the world. So that true love is totally different from this desire-based, fear-based love. And this can change any moment. And there is no change that influences that, because that is not influenced by anything that is changing. That is not connected at all with anything that is changing. It is connected with the inner. And then from there, when it looks at the outer, everything is acceptable, because inner, the most reliable thing is seen. The more permanent is seen. So, no room is there for hatreds, for sins, for negativities, for all these hankerings. There is no room. It is totally different. So the Advaita gives greater capacity to love, enjoy love, and then be in happiness. It reduces the misery in the world. Misery is there because of difference. Misery is there because something other than I changes in its relationship with me. That is the main reason for misery. Something other than I exists separate from me, and it changes in its relationship with me. Finished. Look at any misery. It has to have a relationship with me, it is other than I, and it changes. That is the common thing. In next time when you see misery, look at this point. This will be the point. So, how to go beyond the misery? By stopping that thing from changing, which is not possible. What else we can do now? If we remove the notion that is creating difference, I am separate, that is different. What is the common thing in both of us? That because of which we continue to live as what we are. That is the inner self, the inner consciousness. If all become us, then there is nothing that is different from us. Then there is no misery. In this understanding of Advaita, there is no misery, there is no hatred, there is no falsification of love. There is only true love. And then there is experience of joy. Even in the society, it bridges all the gaps and differences, and it creates one bond of unity, real and true unity amongst all the beings in this world, whatever might be the apparent differences that might be there externally. There will be no any other type of expression which will cause any inconvenience to our way of living. There was one wife who had to depart from the body, and she went to heaven. And in the heaven, she had to stand in queue because immigration department was there, and they had to verify all records and all, because they have all in storage. So they verified the file and all that, said, okay, depending upon that, their record, they will give the visa, and also the status of the visa is different, depending upon that. Whether it is visit visa or work visa or a green card or whatever it is, like that. So she was given a very good stay, and she entered into that, and then given accommodation and all that. As she was going inside, she came across a very, very shining golden place, full of gold, Everything inside was gold. The chair was full of gold and the table was made in gold. The footpath also inside was made in gold. Everything was gold and studded with diamonds. A beautiful place. And she wanted to go inside. And then there was one person as an in charge there, entry. At the entry gate, inside also. Said, "No, there is no free entry. Should I have to pay anything?" She said, no payment. There is only some test. You have to answer a question in math. Oh, okay. It's very nice and then very lovely. I want to go and see. If you fail to answer, you cannot come here for 6 months. You can reapply only after 6 months. So, okay, she said. Then he asked her the question, how much is 2 plus 2? She said, 4. Immediately she said, 4. He said, good, thank you, you have passed, you can go inside. Huh? She was surprised. Oh, math is so easy in heaven. And then went inside and then moved around, and then she was so happy to taste that food she has never tasted, and she relaxed there. And to her amazement and astonishment, she discovered all of her friends and most of her relatives. She was so happy, no bounds for her joy and all that. She was very happy, and then she used to every day come there and meet them, and then slowly a nice friendship developed between the person in charge there and her also. She was going around and coming, and then both used to chat together because he asked a very easy question. She was so kind. He was so kind, so she was very grateful to him and all. So one day he requested her, a small help is required because of the acquaintance. I am going out along with my family. Going out? Yeah. Going out for a tour outside the heaven. So what they can do now, wherever they are staying, every day they see the same thing, so they will get bored. The family wanted to go out. That is it. And then she asked, where are you going? For just one day visit. Where? Hell. Hell? Sightseeing. Sightseeing to hell with my family. And my assistant also is on leave. I think it was December time, so everybody took leave and all that, whatever it is. So, leave. Then nobody is there, and the condition is I cannot go on leave unless and until somebody takes my position and helps me for one day. I feel you should help me, please. You are a nice person, why don't you? Oh, sure, don't worry, you can have a great outing in hell. Go to hell, she said. Meaning that's a nice statement there. It depends upon the person who is going. He has a return visa, I will definitely come back in one day sightseeing only, for variety, for a change, for a break. And then she was there. Exactly that day, husband also came to heaven. He was at the immigration department and all that, Then finally he was let inside. As he was walking inside, and he said, "Oh, golden place, beautiful, diamond set." He was also very thrilled, overexcited. So he wanted to directly go inside. Then she stopped. Wait. Hey, you! He was so happy to recognize her. She was very, very strict in her expression. He was surprised. What? Hey, you are here. I am here as the in charge. You cannot go inside without my permission. Oh, please give me permission. No. The condition here is math exam. I will ask question, you have to answer. Because in the worldly plane of existence, he troubled her a lot. So she was still reacting to that. How can this fellow come to heaven? And then, okay, you ask, he said. Now she asked, how much is 87,9400,563.7 multiplied by same number, divided by half number, add 2 times and minus half? How much is that? He could not say anything. Then she said, the condition is you can never apply any time. See, the idea is, If that difference between I and you exists in the mind and intellect that departs from the body, that will continue wherever it goes. In the heaven also same reactions will be there. I will take a revenge, I will take, now my time has come. So, any loka also the same thing will be the experience. That is why here itself in this loka, if we can get purified and get into a very higher state of experience of oneness between all of us, among all of us, that would continue and that will really purify us and that will make us reach to the higher levels of enlightenment. So continuing further, we are now going to enter into a very beautiful explanation available regarding the Jivan Mukta, the Jivan Mukti, the state, and Jivan Mukta. One who is realized, attained that higher state of realization while living in the body. Sri Sureshwaracharya ji says something very beautiful. He says, a person who has attained liberation may continue in the embodied condition in the body due to the persistence of prarabdha. To follow the prarabdha. So body will continue to remain and prarabdha is yet to be exhausted, it's getting exhausted slowly. That state is called as Jivan Mukti. Meaning he is already attained, but the body still remains. So his relationship to the body is how, very nicely Sureshwaracharya says, the relationship of a Jivan Mukta to his body is like the cast off skin of a snake. Snake, because it is growing, the skin becomes tight, so it hits itself against some hard surface and then slowly takes the skin out and then leaves it. The new skin grows for it. So it leaves it. After it leaves, is there any connection with it? It is just like, if any breeze comes, it will start flying also. There is no connection between the snake and the skin, which is left out. The Jivan Mukta, his relationship to the body is like that. Body is there, but it is like the skin that is let out, left over by the snake. That type of connection. But the body continues to exist because the prarabdha is there, body exists. He has no connection at all with the body, but he lives in the body because the body is there. So it is said, great masters say, the avarana shakti of Maya is no more. There is no veiling. He has understood that his true nature, his inner self is the supreme self. That is not different from the highest self, that is Brahman. So there is no veiling in it. But there is still Vikshepa Shakti continuing in the form of body. Body is again product of Maya, right? So what power of Maya has created the body? Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power, the power of projection. So the Vikshepa Shakti still continues to him because prarabdha is there. As long as that body continues, as long as the body has to be there because of prarabdha, Vikshepa Shakti will be there. But he is not deluded by it. Body has to continue, body is continuing. When the force is exhausted, the force of prarabdha is exhausted, this Vikshepa Shakti also comes to an end. There is neither Avarna Shakti anymore covering him, nor any Vikshepa Shakti appearing, making things appear in front of him. Both are gone. So then such a person goes out of this state also called as Jivan Mukti and then attains Videha Mukti. That is called as a Videha Mukti. There is no big difference between both. Actually there is no difference. Prarabdha, which continues in the case of Jivan Mukta, is only like a reflection, abhasa, a semblance. Whatever prarabdha continues, it continues only like a semblance. He is no way in either identification or misunderstanding or misapprehension or non-apprehension or even any sort of link or connection with the body. It lives, he just sees it as something different. There is no issue at all. There is no question of any identification. Whereas the case of people who get identified, any small thing also becomes an issue. Anything also will prick their ego or intellect or whatever it is. It seems the Germans did excavations. They took up excavations. And in excavations, they discovered some copper. And when they discovered copper, they declared, 25,000 years ago, we had telephone system. Because copper was there and copper wire or something, they declared. Some sort of declaration. And then Britishers thought, we should also conduct excavations. They also conducted. How can they only have that? They conducted. And they discovered some glass. And they openly declared, 10,000 years more than them. 35,000 years ago, we had fiber network. They made a statement. Then Israelis, they performed excavations. Nothing was discovered. They said, we had wireless system. When nothing is discovered also, there is a sense of pride. When something is discovered also, there is a sense of too much of ego. All that is connected with the ego, and whether it is at individual level or at a big socialistic level or national level, people have this problem. Only when we see that the same inner self exists everywhere, then there is no reason. There is only joy. There is only taking one together, heart-to-heart relationship, that's all. Because it is now inner self to inner self relationship. Much more deeper, much more reliable, much more steady. There is no other reason why it should change. So that will be the type of relationship. Jivan Mukta, because he is realized sage, for him, the Sanchitta karma, meaning the total karma which is accumulated, total sum of accumulated karmas, and the future karma, agami karma. Total karmas are there, something is withdrawn out of it, that is which is withdrawn is called prarabdha, which is taking care of this birth. So what is remaining is agami, future karma. The total karma is sanchitta. For the realized sage, neither sanchitta is there nor agami is there. All are burnt. Because he is realized, there is no one to undergo anything now. He is realized. But prarabdha also is not there. He is not having, body is having. That's the difference. He doesn't have anything because he is inner self, he has understood. But body is having, so he has to continue as long as it is there. That is why Jivan Mukta can only bless the world as long as he is in the body. That is a blessing. He can only bless the world. Through that body, whatever is possible for us, through that body we can only contact the divinity. Because divinity alone is realized inside. That body is lying like an external covering which he has no identification. But he continues to move around and everybody contacts that Jivan Mukta and gets blessed and gets inspired and gets that great energy, whatnot, everything, that joy, the thrill, all that is blessings only for anybody. Even to tune the mind to a Jivan Mukta, it is only blessing. Such people only function in the world only to bless, that's all. There is only blessing. Nothing else but blessings. Every second that is spent in presence or thinking or tuning the mind to Jivan Mukta, so much of blessings. Because he is a living consciousness in the body. He is functioning, moving around, that's all. And to understand how he relates to the world, various things which affect us, how they don't affect him, for that we try to understand. See, the prarabdha also, it withers away, even it is going, see, prarabdha also is getting exhausted. How it is getting exhausted? Even while he is living in the body. An uprooted tree, a huge tree that is there, it is uprooted. Once it is uprooted, it perishes by withering away and drying up. It dries up, it withers away. Similarly, this Jivan Mukta who is there, the prarabdha of the Jivan Mukta is like an uprooted tree. The prarabdha of the Jivan Mukta is like an uprooted tree. Once it is uprooted, it is uprooted. There is no roots there. Ego will be the roots for prarabdha. Ayya, mayya. That ayya, mayya. That only is the root of prarabdha. That itself is not there. No roots only. For roots, nothing. They can't go anywhere. Nothing will take their roots. They are uprooted completely. Suppose there is a cyclonic storm and then the land is unsettled and so much of wind, the tree, uprooted. Like that prarabdha is uprooted. Thereafterwards it will die away, that's all. Like that, this prarabdha is there for the Jivan Mukta and it ceases to exist after some time, it goes away. Once it ceases to exist, the power of avidya also, the projecting power, completely ceases to exist. And that deliverance from the physical body, from Jivan Mukti, he will be there in Videha Mukti. That was only difference in name wise. It's only a difference in name. Whatever the Videha Mukta is in, Jivan Mukta is in the same thing. Only thing is this body appears for the world. For him, he is never in connection with it. He is never bound by it. So the state of liberation of a Jivan Mukta and a Videha Mukta is same. Liberation during his life is complete and perfect and total. There is nothing that is remaining. Jivan Mukta has realized the falsity of duality. So there is no question of he getting enchanted by it or tempted by it or whichever way, attracted or fascinated or distracted by it. One who is liberated while embodied. This is Jivan Mukta. Liberated while embodied. When the body is there, but he is liberated already. That is called as a Jivan Mukta. Now let us see how he looks at the world and how it is different from we looking at the world. A person who does not understand the import of the true import of the universe as bliss. The true import of the creation is what? The essence of creation is Paramatma only. Essence of creation is consciousness only. Once this essence of what is supporting this creation, that is Brahman only. Once that is understood, the import of the creation is bliss only. But the normal individuals have so much of suffering, so much of fear, so much of doubt in the mind, annoyance. So many things disturb that mind. How it is, a beautiful example is given here. A child at the night time looks at his own shadow that is falling on the wall, nearby wall. Because of the light behind him, his shadow falls on the wall. When his shadow falls on the wall, the child gets frightened. Why? Because of ignorance that something other than I exists. You understand the statement of Advaita Vedanta? If something other than I exists, that will cause fear. Something other than I exists. That may be spirit, that may be monstrous spirit. And he gets frightened. Highly frightened. And shivers also. And that is moving also. All that is justified from the standpoint of a child. Because he is ignorant, he doesn't know that it is his own shadow. If he knows his own shadow, will he get frightened? Will you get frightened if you see your shadow and know that it is your shadow? There is a possibility if you don't know. But if you know that it is your shadow, a Jivan Mukta knows that the whole creation is his shadow. He meaning the supreme inner self. He knows it is all shadow. The real thing he knows, and he knows what is shadow. Will he get ever frightened by this? Will he get ever disturbed by this? Will he get ever annoyed by this? Will he get ever influenced by this? But you and I, we see shadows and we are frightened. We are fighting also with shadows only. We hate shadows, we fight shadows, we desire shadows. We are bound by shadows. We are stuck up with shadows. But he is different. He knows that is a shadow. Once he knows that is a shadow, he is totally different. Second example. This is all traditionally given by the great masters. A person who sees wild dreams. A lion was chasing him. He was running to escape from it. Then from the right direction a tiger chased him. Then from left direction a cheetah chased him. And still he was running. From opposite direction a jackal was waiting. And he was running. He jumped to save himself. All jumped along with him. He is in full fright. Almost dead. Deadly fear. Wild animals are about to pounce and kill him. That is the wild dream. There's so much of fright, so much of fear, horror. But he is telling about the dream to his friend. When he is telling about the dream to his friend, is there a tiger? Is he disturbed? Is he in fear? When he is narrating that in the waking state, he woke up from it, his friend is telling, oh, there was a tiger, there was a lion, there was a... No fear, because he knows that is a dream. It is not there. Similarly, when a Jivan Mukta is functioning in this world, he knows it is a dream. What will be the state of understanding of a Jivan Mukta when he knows it is a dream? He knows it is a dream. That's all. Nothing can frighten him. Fearlessness is the sign of a realized sage. What is there to fear? There is nothing other than him to fear. They are very bold, they are very daring. It is not arrogance. They don't care about anything. If anybody is fault, whatever might be the position of that fellow, directly they will tell, like Gurudev used to tell. That person might be the president of the nation or anybody. If there is a mistake that is committed, straight away. It is not arrogance, it is not anything, it is love-filled Advaitic experience. Fearlessness, there is no fear. That is totally different. A quality of a sign of a realized man. No fear at all. Fearlessness. Our so-called strong people have so much of security around. That itself is a sign of fear. So much of fear. And they will come and tell, don't fear, I am here. It's a joke only. In heaven, at the immigration department, a new type of test they adopted, a traditional test, purification process it seems. So, one priest came to heaven. So, he was asked, they were testing their honesty. He was asked, did you commit any mistake? Priest asked, why? No, we want to purify you and give you a better status if you have committed a mistake. This is a purification here. Otherwise, you will get a medium status if it is there. You can purify and then get higher status. Okay, he said. In my fit of anger, somebody came to me for confession. He was talking on all stupid things. So I gave him one slap. Patak! Which hand? With the right hand. Okay, place the hand in water. There was a vessel, you had to place hand in water. He placed the hand. Cleared. Go. Higher status. And then another person came. What did you do? Any mistake you did? Anything? Oh, I kicked my wife. Okay, place that foot in the water. Purified, go. Then one politician came. The moment he entered, first the in charge was surprised because the vibration was different. Very rarely he sees such vibrations. Then he asked, this is the procedure, this is the thing, this is basin-like vessel, this is it. Then he was asked, did you commit any mistake? And honestly you tell, and this is what. Otherwise we will recognize and then you may be deported to hell also. He said, is there a swimming pool? That is not sufficient. This is only hand, finger, this is small things. Is there a swimming pool, he asked. So that means, when our ego is so ignorant, what all it does, we don't know. But everything will be registered, everything will be carried along with the mind and intellect. But this type of understanding will free us from all these things. There will be no more illusions because a Jivan Mukta understands this in truth. And the next example, because he is recollecting his wild dreams and then somebody is telling, so he is not afraid. So similarly, Jivan Mukta sees this as a wild dream, so he is not afraid, not affected by it. Third thing, Jivan Mukta completely knows where his face is when he is looking into the mirror of this world. If somebody forgets where his face is and thinks it is in the mirror, what all problems will happen, you know. There is an age-old story, you might have heard it 100 times, that there was a village where nobody saw mirror. One person went to a place where the mirror was available, he bought the mirror for the first time. He saw the mirror and then he felt his own face he saw and he felt, oh, it is my father. Oh, I can see my father in the mirror. Oh, it was very nice. So he brought it. And then he kept it there and every time he used to see his father and then he used to thank him for giving him birth and all that. And one day wife saw, every time he is seeing, what is there? And when he went out for work, she saw a lady. Hurray! He is having an affair with a lady. Oh God, he is having an affair with a lady. Then she made such a big fuss and all that. Oh, fighting, blaming, doom, this, everything. Then the village head was called. He came to solve the issue. Then wife said, he bought a lady and then he kept inside only and then see he is doing all this and he said, no, my father. He said, I want to see it. Then he saw. Then he said, what happened to you? Are there no women here? You are having a relationship with a man? And he thought something else. All ignorant people are like that only. They don't know that it is a mirror. They don't know it is their face. And what happens? It's all confusion. With ignorant people, that is what happens. When there is ignorance around, same thing. Because whatever is there inside, we don't know what it is. And we don't know where our face is. Then there will be a problem. When we have the knowledge, then we know we are not in the mirror. We are away from the mirror. We are not in these illusory mirrors. We are away from the mirrors. We are the original. We are the real. We are not the reflection. So that is the knowledge which the Jivan Mukta has. So he knows where his face is. So he is not troubled by the images, reflections, mirrors. He knows the truth of a mirror. Then the next one. See, there is a king who is very powerful, who has all kinds of people in his kingdom, and also his army is so powerful, so big, and so real warriors. He had elephants, he had horses, he had all kinds of armory and all that. He had all the power. But once in a while, he used to play chess. He could have played chess with real animals, real people. He is that powerful. But he plays with ordinary wooden things. And then he plays chess. Why? Because there was some time available for him. He had attended all the things, there was some time available. So he played. There are some people, if the time is available, they will play. There are some people, the time not available also, they go to ranch. So whatever it is. So if time is available, this person was playing. Time was available. He was playing. Like that, in Jivan Mukta, he has nothing to achieve. By playing the chess, the king has nothing to achieve, nothing to lose. He is just playing because he has to violate with the time. So Jivan Mukta also considers his moving around in this world as a play. Because Prarabdha is there, the body has to survive till Prarabdha is there. Okay? So he moves around in the world. Instead of playing other things, he will help the people who are suffering this play. The game, and he goes on serving and loving and blessing people. That's all. That also is a play for him. He has nothing to gain, nothing to lose. There is no profit, there is no loss. So his mind is free. He goes around. And then another beautiful thing that is said is, a very interesting thing it is. One person who is in very youthful age, a boy who is young and who is healthy, who has a very well built up body and good job and then good talent. This boy one day went to watch a play on the stage. It's going on. Went to watch a play. And in that play there are so many people playing the roles. And there was one nice girl. And the role was of a queen also. And naturally people select such nice beautiful faces only, no? So then that girl was somehow attracted towards this charming boy. And she was always looking at him, sometimes, staring at him, and then that look is penetrating and touching the heart and stirring up something like that look. And again she's looking, again and again she's looking, again and again she's looking. Each time the look is whoosh. And then she's smiling also, and she's once in a while comes and then just looks at him and then waves at him, and then just so many types of, tempting him and then trying to attract him and trying to fascinate him and trying to propose him and trying to pull him. So many guiles and so many blandishments. So many things are happening. All that she is trying the maximum. If anybody else were there, he would have jumped and held the hand and eloped with that girl only. Ran away immediately. So many things happened. But this boy is simply smiling and watching. No change in this boy. No temptation. No question of any desire. No fascination. No allurement. No attraction. Just watching. Because he knows the one who is playing the role of that queen is a boy. He knows it is a boy who is playing. Now whatever that queen does, there is no change only. Just watching fun. He may applaud also. Good, very good. What he can. Like a Jivan Mukta doesn't see the outer personality nor the role. He knows inside who is there. That's the difference of a Jivan Mukta. His sight goes into the inside. Outside, whether the person shouts or cheats or hates or loves or serves or revolts, what does it matter? He will see the one who is inside. All this is a show, a play, all role plays. Everybody is playing a role. Somebody goes and says, Gurudev, you are so great. He knows who is inside. Somebody says, Gurudev, I am becoming popular, so I will go away. What else? Everybody is seen with the same love because inner self. But those people have their minds and their intellect and their egos and their perceptions and their reaction. Let them have. He doesn't bother about them. Because they make no sense to him. Because they are unreal to him. It is a play going on show. He knows the play ends. He knows the player also ends. He knows this is a show. He knows who is real inside. He knows inside who is there. That is the most important thing. Who is playing the role? Brahman he sees. He sees that consciousness inside. He sees that pure essence inside. When he sees that, this entity doesn't know what he is carrying, what she is carrying. They think they are ego, but he doesn't think they are ego. Those people will think that they are egos. They may react, but he doesn't think they are egos. He knows what is there inside. One who knows what is there inside, is he affected by anything? Because he can only see that. He cannot help himself but to see that which is inside. For us, we help also, we can't see that which is inside. We cannot avoid seeing that which is outside. That is a different story altogether. But he is different life. He sees everybody he sees only God inside. That God supporting this body, mind, intellect, enlivening this. He sees the light of consciousness. When he sees the light of consciousness, he doesn't see in himself also dvesha. Arey, what a beauty it is. He doesn't see others dvesha also. He doesn't see that it is belonging to them. Can you see this beauty? I am the realized person, I am Atma, so I am not the mind. That is different. When he relates with others, he knows that fellow also is not the mind. Hello? This is the point. When we see others, that fellow is crooked mind, this man, that ego. Because we can't see anything else, we can see only personality layers, either physical or mental or intellectual or ego or memory. All these only we can see in an individual. Our relationship with only is these things. My dear friends, if the relationship is rooted in mind and in the body, that is a big illusion. That is not real, that is false. Someday we will get a jolt, and voltage we don't know what it is. So he sees that is a beautiful state, When others are committing mistakes also, whether others are committing faults also, he doesn't identify that personality with the person who is inside. He doesn't see that. That only makes people say, they know not what they do. Forgive. Who can say? Only such great masters can say. How can they forgive? There is no need to forgive also. Even to say forgive also means there is some effort. They don't recognize only. There is no recognition. The personality, they don't see your body. Even though they see your body, they see the Atma. Even though they see your mind, they see the Atma. They see your pollution, they see Atma. They see your purity, they see Atma. They see your devotion, they see Atma. They see your service, they see Atma. They see your criticism against them, they see only Atma. They can't react. To react, there is no entity there. They don't recognize your entity to react. They don't consider your ego to react. They don't value your ego to react. They don't perceive this ego. They perceive Brahman in you. They perceive divinity in you. They perceive God in you. They can only love you. And their love alone is unconditional, my dear friends. Their love is unconditional. Rest all is an empty trash talk. It cannot be unconditional. That day when you get out of the conditioning of the body, mind and intellect, then only your love can be unconditional. As long as you think that your body, think that your mind, think that your intellect, think that your ego, you can make false promises to others, my love is unconditional. It will stay only as long as The human being does not know that the guns he carries inside in the form of emotions are loaded and ready to get triggered. That is why when you are in presence of a Jivan Mukta, that look is penetrating, the smile is penetrating, the love is penetrating, expression is touching. It only touches the soul. That's what happens when you are with a Jivan Mukta. Everything in the presence is divine because he sees divine, he lives divine. He is divine. He cannot see undivine. That is the way in which a Jivan Mukta lives in this world. Another thing is said, a Jivan Mukta is like a person who has all the riches of this creation. Does that person who has all the riches of the creation go for begging? Will he go begging? Will you see him as a beggar, either begging with all begging management techniques on the Indian streets, forcing people and all that, or a decent begging in the streets of New York? Silent begging. There is no begging only, because he knows he has all the riches, much more than all the riches in this world. No need to beg. He never begs. That is why Gurudev used to call himself, even though he was a Swami and then doing all this, he used to say, I am a royal beggar. Who goes for bhiksha and asks, but what for himself he asked? When did he want anything for himself? Swamiji, I gave you so much of money. Oh, really? Only with your money I could do all this. He had to satisfy, he satisfied. But he never wanted any money. He never wanted anything. Nothing was for himself. First that. So what does he want? And what he doesn't want? There is nothing that he does not want. There is nothing that he wants. He is beyond this want game only. Totally different level. Then it is said in the Advaita Vedanta Shastra also by great masters, if a king has invited you, you have a contact with king. You have a friendship with king, king is your friend, and king has invited you on an appointed time and date, and you go there to meet the king. The whole retinue of the royal palace, all of them will come to greet you along with the king. But the king is coming to receive you. When the king comes to receive you, all the people will be there to see you, to receive you. A Jivan Mukta has made the friendship with the king of the whole creation, Brahman. All the royal palace members, the devas, the devatas, the gods, the supreme gods, various other types of gods and devatas of different lokas. It is said when a Jivan Mukta is moving around, there are so many divine beings around the Jivan Mukta. Requesting a Jivan Mukta, is there any direction? Is there any assistance? Is there any help? Is there anything that we can do? Because you are the king's own friend. That is how when you meet a Jivan Mukta, when you take blessings from a Jivan Mukta, it is whole group of all divine entities present there. There are so many rishis around the Jivan Mukta also. Meaning what? All divine beings are there around the Jivan Mukta. That is the level of a Jivan Mukta. That is the level of a person who has totally realized his own true nature with Brahman. And what does such a person want? Do you think if you give an award he will be happy? Do you think he works for sake of your awards and your appreciations, your claps? But Gurudev also used to respond to those things because to make you happy, to make all of us happy. It's a different state of existence. Adi Shankaracharya ji, in his famous work, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha. He says in sloka number 947, Parabrahmavada bhati Nirvikaraika rupini Sarvavasthasu dharaika Turyakhya parikirtita Parabrahmavada bhati Nirvikaraika rupini Sarvavasthasu dharaika Turyakhya parikirtita. Explaining the means to attain to that state of Jivan Mukti. How, if it is so beautiful, so wonderful, so different and beyond the capacity of our thinking, how can we attain that? Adi Shankaracharya says, you have to take up in the Nididhyasana state, the Akhandakara Vritti, the Brahmakara Vritti. Yesterday, day before yesterday, we have seen so much about it. The Akhandakara, Brahmakara Vritti. In the journey from Savikalpa to Nivikalpa also we have seen that. Earlier also we have seen that. So he says, Parabrahmavad abhati nirvikaraika rupini. How does it shine? How does it appear? It is like Parabrahma only. It is like Brahman. It takes the shape of Brahman. Brahma akara. The mind taking the shape of Brahman. The mind taking the shape to realize an object, to experience an object, to know an object. Here the object is Brahman, so mind takes that shape. So, sarvavasthasu dharaika turyakhya parikirtita. That which is continuous like the stream of oil poured into a vessel. Continuously, if the oil is poured into a vessel, it continuous stream. Sarvavasthasu dharaika. Sarvavasthasu. In a waking state, in a dream state, in a deep sleep state, there is a continuous flow of this Brahmakara Vritti. In all the states. How it is? Parabrahmavad abhati. It is like the form of Brahman. And it shines like Nirvikaraika Rupini. There is no akara there. It's Nirvikara, meaning it shines like Satchidananda. It is not different from Satchidananda. And such a vritti of buddhi, turiyakhya parikirtita, is called as turiya vritti or charama vritti. Turiya or charama. Turiya. Turiya, they say, no, beyond this waking dream and deep sleep, the fourth state is the turiya avastha, which is the underlying Brahmic consciousness, which is supporting deep sleep also, dream also, waking also, everything. That is it. That vritti is of the form of Brahman, and that continuously is there in all the three states. Such a person reaches that level of Jivan Mukti. When there is Brahmakara Vritti continuously. And how it is, that Jivan Mukti. Chidatmaham paratmaham Nirgunoham paratparaha Atma matrena yastishtet Sajivan mukta uchyate Chidatmaham paratmaham Nirgunoham paratparaha Atma matrena yastishtet Sajivan mukta uchyate Sajivan mukta uchyate Sajivan mukta uchyate. Sloka number 964 of the same text, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, Adi Shankaracharya says, Chidatmaham Paratmaham Nirgunoham Paratparaha. Chidatma Aham, I am of the form of knowledge. Paratma Aham, I am beyond the Maya, beyond everything. I am that Paratma. I am that Supreme Being. Nirgunoham Paratparaha. I am beyond even the Creator Brahma. I don't have any gunas, neither Sattva guna, nor Rajo guna, nor Tamo guna. I am beyond the three gunas, Triguna Atitaha. Nirgunoham Paratparaha. Atma Matrena Yastishtet Sajivan Mukta Uchyate. He who is firmly established in the bhava that I am the Atman. I am the Supreme Atma. I am the Atma, which is not having any gunas, which is of the form of knowledge, which is the Para Atma and Parat Para Atma. I am that Atma. He is firmly established in that bhava. Such a person is called as Jivan Mukta. He is established in that, so he sees only that, he experiences only that, he perceives only that. He is not influenced by anything else. And then when the prarabdha is over, then he reaches, there is no reaching, there is no more body, that's all, the binding factor. Now according to the Shastra, it is called as Videha Mukti. The body which was in prarabdha also is not there. Videha Mukti. And that is said by Adi Shankaracharya ji in sloka number 974. Chitta vritteratito yaha Chitta vrittya avabhasakaha Chitta vritti Vihino yo Videho Mukta eva saha Chitta vritte Atito yaha Chitta vritti Avabhasakaha Chitta vritti Vihino yo Videho Mukta eva saha. Just listen. Chitta vritteratito yaha Chitta vrityavabhasakaha Chitta vritti vihino yo Videho Mukta eva saha. Videho Mukta eva saha. Chitta vritteratito yaha. He who is beyond the chitta vrittis. All the tendencies, all the samskaras, whatever they are there, we are influenced by the chitta vrittis, bound by the chitta vrittis, engulfed by the chitta vrittis, tied down by the chitta vrittis. But he is beyond the chitta vrittis. For us to understand this comparison, he is beyond the chitta vrittis. He is beyond the chitta vrittis. He is not bound, he is beyond. Chitta vrityavabhasakaha. He just, avabhasakaha, he illumines the chitta vrittis. He is the supreme consciousness, he is the light and splendor of consciousness, he just illumines them. The illuminator is untouched by the illumined. It is a light that illumines the chitta vrittis. He illumines by nature. Chitta vrittis are there, they get illumined. Not that he puts a special effort to illumine anything. Light is there. If anything object is there, it illumines that object. Chitta vritti vihino yo. He is without chitta vrittis. Because we may think chitta vritti ratitva, because all the time we were comparing chitta vrittis only. He is beyond chitta vrittis, he illumines chitta vrittis. So maybe sometime he might have one chitta vritti. Chitta-vritti vihino yo. He is without chitta-vrittis. There are no chitta-vrittis only. There is no chitta only. No chitta-vrittis. No tendencies. No desires. No angers. No frustrations. Nothing of the chitta. No chitta-vritti. Videho mukta eva saha. He is firmly established in himself and is beyond all the chitta-vrittis. He is no chitta-vrittis. That is the state of a Jivan Mukta. And such a person also can have the sankalpa, because he has no sankalpa, but still for the sake of blessing people, still the blessings continue to come even from that state. Because when we invoke, the blessings come. Jivan Mukta anyway blesses by the presence of his body, but even without the body, because the state that is attained, whether in the body or without the body, is the same. The one who has blessed the people while in the body, when people invoke, the blessings continue. That is the glory of a master of realization. Whenever we invoke, all the blessings come. And also one more beautiful thing that is said by great Mahatmas is, Mahatmas of realization, they don't have doership, they don't have enjoyership, but they do so much of service and the merit is generated, but they don't want it, they don't take it. What happens? They make a sankalpa and leave it. All that merit that is accumulated, because they are not the recipient, they don't want it, but still it comes. What to do? You have the lottery ticket and that lottery got the prize and it comes. You want it or not, it comes. You have invested in share and afterwards you forgot about it, it will come. You don't want it. So here it is totally different. There is no investment also, it will come. So they make a sankalpa and leave it. Whosoever invokes, may they get the share of the blessings. All that will be there, stored up in the heavens or in the higher lokas. Anybody invoking anything, all from that greatest inexhaustible fund, that will be so much. So everybody will partake of their own thing. That's what happens when you still invoke a realized master. Your capacity will get more enhanced strength because from him. That's what their sankalpa is. May all these people get the rays, like the sun showers, sends its rays. Similarly, the rays of the blessings and grace and his merit, they start coming and falling into our system. It is like swiping the credit card. It is like in internet, you are typing the number of your card and it goes and it comes. Transfer of bank accounts through internet banking, one account, another account. All that you do is press buttons, but money changes. Same thing. All that you do is move your fingers here and do something, some service, and that transfers. That's what happens. So we are blessed to be associated with a great Mahapurusha, and with our attitude we are associated with the great Parampara and all the great masters and the divinity itself. Glory be to this Parampara which teaches the great knowledge, making this individual not different from Supreme Consciousness. Remember this, and may we all gain the blessings of the Gurus and the Paramatma and the Parabrahman himself, and advance into the higher states of evolution and thereby get blessed. Harihi Om. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।